Welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing some reactions again. The housing market's doomed apparently, from the outside perspective, especially if you're checking the mainstream media. So we're gonna go over these videos, see what they have to say, and then you're gonna get the perspective from a real estate agent in the DFW Metroplex. So let's begin. My name's Trevon, and I am with Century 21 and Mike Bowman. All right.
Your revenue went up last year by 67%. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're expanding. I mean, when you think about it, we have an incredible amount of demand for what we do. So, Leslie, in any given week, we might have 200 or 300 homes available
For renting.
for renting, and we get about 10,000 leasing inquiries a week.
Tricon is trying to buy 800 houses a month.
800 houses a month this company is trying to buy. And you're hearing this where, you won't rent anything, or you're hearing all this talk about not owning and you'll rent and you'll be happy. That looks like that's what they're trying to do, which makes sense. I mean, yeah, real estate's one of the best things for long-term asset growth. So yeah, I can see why some of these companies are focusing on and turning everybody into renters.
I think if you asked a lot of millennials, and that tends to be our primary resident, they would probably tell you that they don't necessarily desire to own a home or to own a car. And they've grown up in the sharing economy, and for what's important to them is lifestyle, right? And so if they can move into this, what we call a turnkey or hotel-ready home, and have a low-maintenance lifestyle, that's very compelling for them. Very compelling.
Your revenue went up.
Is it compelling to you? I mean, like my little brother, he's about 20. I'm trying to get him to buy. That's the perspective I'm trying to put on him, because soon those kids will not be able to buy. So this is proof. If you are someone that's waiting on the fence, yeah, companies are going to start coming and snagging up homes. I know at some points they were even buying homes by the neighborhood. So I don't know how you do that, but crazy what's happening. And yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think companies like this are good, bad? Do you think this will destroy the American economy as far as the housing market?
I had an eye-opening experience with my son this weekend. So my son graduated from college.
All right, so the next video, a really good one, I think. It's a boomer realizing that things have changed drastically, and it's great to see that perspective. At least we know we're not crazy, the people who are 30 and under.
6 months ago, and when he graduated, he was going to move back in with us so that he could find a job here in this local area and save up enough money to move out on his own. Had no problem with that. So it's been about 6 months. He has saved almost every single dime. He works a 40-hour-a-week job, makes $40,000 a year, which back in my day was sustainable to be able to live. Apparently that's not the case anymore. You can't live on $40,000, which makes no sense to me. So
I mean, it does make sense because everything is expensive. I mean, what? Rent, $1,500 a month, car note, gas, food to eat. I mean, if you want to have any fun at all, right?
we were looking online at Zillow, Google to find apartments and houses within his budget, a house to rent because he has a dog. So we said, let's write them all down and let's go check them out, because pictures don't tell you what's really going on, y'all. So we drove around to some of these, and I can't even tell you, some of them I didn't even feel comfortable driving down the street. They were in really, really shady parts of town, looked like a war zone. The whole house looked like it was off kilter. A lot of work to be, it just looked like it should be uninhabitable. Don't rent this. It should just be tore down, right? And then when we went to apartments, these apartments that were within his price range, and when I say price range, they were still going for like $800 a month. These $800 a month apartments, I didn't feel comfortable with him living in these apartments. Like, when I say those two look like they should have just been torn the hell down, they should have been. The only ones that are decent, he found a studio apartment that's in a nice neighborhood, $1,400 for 485 square feet. That is more than my mortgage, right?
Yeah, speaking of that, if you talk to boomers, or not even boomers, if you talk to someone who bought a home 2020 and down, 2020 and older, yeah, they probably got locked in at a really good rate. They're probably living in a home twice the size of yours, and you're probably paying more. Even me, I bought a home under 300,000. I'm paying about 2,200 a month. So just do that. That is And that's kind of where we're at, right? So it is a tough place to be in, but if you're looking at it long term, rent's not getting cheaper either.
And then regular apartments, not even like glamorous apartments, just one bedroom apartment that has normal square footage is anywhere from $1,300 to $1,700. We live in Montgomery, Alabama. We're not in a big metropolitan area. I don't understand how the housing market has gotten so donkey. Okay. And everybody says, well, then he should just buy a house since it's cheaper, mortgage is less than rent. Well, nobody will give him a mortgage loan because he has no credit. Not that he has bad credit. He has no credit. He didn't want to get into debt. So he doesn't have any credit to show for it. So it's like a lose-lose situation. I don't know how they're living. I don't know if he can move out right now because I personally don't feel comfortable with the places he can afford moving to. And he can't afford the normal standard shit that I would have afforded back when. How are people doing this, and how do we expect our young kids, he's not young, he's 25, but how do we expect our youth to get ahead? I mean, really.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you're seeing it. You know, people are moving into these tiny homes, ADUs, their cars, van life. That's becoming a thing because prices are so high. And what I'll say to people that are trying to get into the stage now, it is not as difficult as it seems. A lot of it's really just job security and then credit score. Of course, you have to have a little savings, but there's ways to negotiate terms so you don't have to pay that much to get into the home, or a partner, right? A lot of like for my little brother, same instance. He doesn't have bad credit, doesn't have any credit, so he'll have to have a cosigner, right? And the cosigner is probably gonna have to be family, so me or my mom. But yeah, it does give us extra liabilities, but it does give him the chance to own property and gain asset growth. So that is where we're headed, and it's unfortunate because I don't really see us headed in a different direction. I don't see things getting better as far as affordability is concerned.
Listen to me, listen to me. I will never be able to afford a house. I will never be able to afford a house.
Home prices are rising nationwide as inflation remains stubborn and mortgage rates remain high as Americans compete for fewer available homes. Home prices in March were up 0.4% compared to February. Now that's the second month in a row that we have seen gains.
My parents' house that is $195,000 back in '96 is now worth like $500,000 to $700,000. My children will never be able to have the life I live because I can't afford to do it.
I don't think any of us thought when we were growing up that owning a home would be a luxury. Like maybe we thought it would be a bit difficult, but not like a luxury that basically only the rich will be able to afford.
No one that works a full-time job should be facing homelessness. And that's what my family is facing right now.
Being completely radicalized by the rental housing market right now, I cannot believe that you can pay over $300 in non-refundable fees just to apply for an apartment.
That's funny. Yeah. Even the rental criteria, like for me as a realtor trying to show someone homes that's trying to rent, you'll have to make 3 times the rent. Your credit will have to be above 640. You can't really have any dangerous breeds, so like no German Shepherds, no Pit Bulls, other larger dogs. Yeah, it can be difficult depending on the owner. And then not only that, but you're no criminal history for a long time. So it is very strict. And then the 3x the rent, it is depending on the owner, but most cases they want it individually. Like yeah, now if you're living with 5 people and you combine to be 5x the rent, they could work with you, or if it's been on the market for a while, they could, but yeah.
A big part of the reason why social life here in America is getting more and more difficult has to do with the fact that nobody can afford decent housing.
Everybody in America kind of knows, like, it's over. Like, there will be no recovery. Like, this is not like the other times. This ain't like 2008 where, we'll crash and then we'll get back up.
Because right now, this economy, this world is set up to make average American families fail.
And I'm appalled that our particular kind of capitalism not only fails to deal with the housing problem, but somehow routinizes it so that the homelessness is blamed on the homeless, blaming the victim kind of, because I can see why a society does it, because if you're such a failure at providing this basic human need, you better blame somebody, because otherwise you risk blaming yourself.
If I can get my hands on a nice lump sum of money, baby, I'm buying land in another country and I'm out of here because there's nothing left here but struggle.
Yeah. What do you think about those videos? I mean, the last lady, tough one. I don't know if I'd leave America really, because it doesn't look like the other countries are that amazing. I mean, maybe Mexico. I know affordability aspects, it's a little different, but you know, then you're dealing with some other things. So it is a tough one. But I get it. I get it where people want to buy land somewhere else and build somewhere else. You're always seeing these videos of like, oh, I built my home in Tulum and it's like some beautiful luxury-esque type home and it was like only $250,000. A home that would be like $1 million here, you know, so, or like $500K in DFW or Dallas.
Vegas, what did I tell you guys? What did I tell you? They're building entire complexes of homes just for rent. And look what they're saying. Home simplified. That's right. It's simple. You don't own shit. You'll rent everything from us. It's simple.
Yeah,
Vegas,
so there you go. That's already an example of new homes for rent. And you're seeing that, you know, MI Homes has something like that where, hey, they're advertising to rent to own, basically. So yeah, it can get someone a home in a path to ownership, so that's a plus, but you know, it's a tough one. It's a tough one to decide, like, should you go that route, should you go the other route? And then with that, the pricing is pretty much the same as it would be if you actually owned a home too. So
one of the most horrifying videos I have ever seen on this app regarding our country's financial future. It was posted by a woman named Tiffany. I will link it. She's talking about how private equity firms have been buying up all the single family homes. So up until very recently, we didn't actually have the numbers to say just how many homes they've been buying up. And most politicians across the fucking board, Democrat, Republican, whatever, have been saying, well, they're really only buying like 18% of single family homes. And then economists chimed in and said that if private equity firms are buying up anywhere from 18 to 20 to 23% of single family homes in this country, that by 2030, they would own 60% of all of the homes in America. Well, we just got the final numbers. In 2023, private equity firms purchased 44% of all of the single family homes in America, which means death for our middle class. Our generation will not be homeowners. They will have us permanently renting from like 2 or 3 companies. Now, America has a lot of problems, but this should be a unifying problem that every single person who is not part of one of those private equity firms cares about, including current homeowners. They bought 44% of all of the single family homes in America last year, and they are set up to purchase an even higher percentage of them this year. Unless we have major reform, almost all of the single family homes in this country will be owned by these private equity firms in a very, very short amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard it in the videos kind of before where they're buying them up. They don't plan to slow down, and that seems like the path. And it's a tough one because what are they going to make things cheaper? And what the more they make things cheaper, it makes it more accessible for others. But I believe you'll still get your investors really hardcore back in the game. Yeah, so it's a really tough one, and it's quite interesting to see where the pendulum will swing. I mean, you've seen places like California where, I mean, basic home is $750,000, and you know, places like New York where the cost of living is pretty damn high. So we shall see. I did think this one was interesting. This is going to be one of the last ones, and this is just a key, stark reminder of where we're at and how things have changed as far as the process of getting a home and what you can afford nowadays.
Parents are retired public school teachers. They're like younger boomers and have been teachers their whole lives. I want you to think about what life looks like for a household of 2 public school teachers with 2 kids today. Like, what does their house look like? What's their finances look like? Because this...
I mean, a lake house. She lives at a lake house. A lake house nowadays, it ain't teachers living there. It's like owners of companies. So, I mean, I could show you the prices of some lake houses by here, and yeah, when you see how much they are, you're gonna be shocked.
This was my parents' situation. As two public school teachers, this is where I grew up, on a lake with a boat, a 3-bedroom house. Not like a super fancy house, but a 3-bedroom house. There are currently 2 houses for sale on this lake. One is $530,000 and the other is $1.2 million. On the lake my parents moved onto in the 90s as 2 public school teachers with 2 children. They never had side hustles, they never had summer jobs, they had summers off. They were 2 public school teachers, and this is what that afforded them. My fiance and I now make combined what my parents made when I was like in high school, like decades into their teaching careers. Our apartment, when it rains on the outside, it rains on the inside. It's like enraging and unfathomable thinking about the world that people older than us got to live in, because no one ever gets to live like this with normal jobs ever again. My parents are retired public school teachers. They're like younger boomers and have been teachers their whole lives. I want you to think about what life looks like for a household of 2 public school teachers with 2 kids today. Like, what does their house look like? What's their finances look like? Because this was my parents' situation. As 2 public school teachers, this is where I grew up, on a lake with a boat, a 3-bedroom house. Not like a super fancy house, but a 3-bedroom house. There are currently 2 houses for sale on this lake. One is $530,000 and the other is $1.2 million. On the lake my parents moved onto in the 90s as 2 public school teachers with 2 children. They never had side hustles, they never had summer jobs, they had summers off. They were 2 public school teachers, and this is what that afforded them. My fiance and I now make combined what my parents made when I was like in high school, like decades into their teaching careers. Our apartment, when it rains on the outside, it rains on the inside. It's like enraging and unfathomable thinking about the world that people older than us got to live in, because no one ever gets to live like this with normal jobs ever again. My parents are
but yeah, that's gonna be it for the video. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you watching. If you have any questions about the real estate market in Dallas or DFW, feel free to shoot me a call or text. And yeah, I'd love to show you around, show you some tours, or at least help you through the process of buying or selling. But yeah, till next time.